Everyone. I'm Scott Shepard. I'm the host of the Flower Podcast, where I love to chat with floral professionals, whether they're flower farmers, floral designers, wedding and event specialists. We just have a great time talking about the world of floristry and flowers as it relates to the cut flower production. And this week I just was inundated with fabulous herbs, and I thought, what a great way to add fragrance and interest to floral work, floral designs, whether it's bouquets or gigantic centerpieces or altarpieces or whatever, but they're just a great way to add an element to your work that will help set you apart and just make things more interesting also for your customers. Of course, there's a few herbs that are always popular and always people are kind of not expected, but especially you can find special ones. So I wanted to show you this. Start off with lavender. Lavender is a great herb that I love because I love the fragrance. Now, I will say that if you haven't ever grown lavender, look at all the varieties that are out there, because there may be a variety that you'll find that you really like. This particular one, I don't know the name because I got so many different ones in this week, but it's kind of a silvery lavender. I know there's white ones, there's purple ones, there's pink ones, there's all different kinds. There's Spanish and English and French lavenders, all kinds of lavenders. But this particular one I like because so many times purple lavenders that are dark tend to kind of disappear when you put them in to floral work just because of the dark color. This one being kind of this silvery lavender, I feel like is light enough that it's going to show up, and it can go with almost any kinds of color palettes. It's just really pretty, and it adds an unexpected fragrance when you're doing design work. So if you haven't grown lavender, I'd think about it. Or if you haven't used lavender, this is a great time of year. Right now, it's June, July, and lavenders are bursting everywhere in the country. So there's all kinds. Try them. You know, another flower that, of course, is very well known in the cooking world is oregano. And oregano, like lavender, has all kinds of colors and textures. I want to show you another one in a second. But there's whites and lavenders and purples and all different kinds. The flowers are really great. The stems hold up well as a cut. You can use the foliage too, though. It doesn't have to be the flowers, but these flowers are amazing and they smell great. Now, I will even say, like with the white types, a lot of times the white flowers don't show up super well or they shed, but let them go to seed because little tiny seed heads are even a cool texture to use in design work. So this is an oregano, but I want to show you one of my favorite oreganos here in a second. Let's see. So this little guy right here is one called Kent's Beauty. And Kent's Beauty doesn't look like, I mean, it's kind of weird. It's like, and you see a mass like this, some people think, is that a hydrangea? Is that hops? I mean, those are two totally different kinds of plants. But Kent's Beauty is this very special oregano. Now, I will say that it is short. It is very short. So when you grow it, don't expect long stems. But it just is this wonderful lavender green. To me, it kind of has that feel of hops, but I will say that it is really special. The other great thing about this particular oregano is that it dries well. And so even if it's too short for you to use fresh, you can dry it. You can tie a band and use this like a hydrangea bloom, you know, like one big massive flower. And it has that oregano smell and beautiful color and beautiful texture. So that's Kent's Beauty. That one I do know the variety name of. Now, one flower that has been very popular as far as a cut herb goes is basil. This is lemon basil. I know in the car when I was driving home with this, you could just, the whole car smelled of lemon. I mean, it was really intense. And I really love that because, again, it's an unexpected fragrance that you can add. You know, if you're a flower farmer and you make market bouquets like to sell at a farmer's market, this is when people stick their flower, you know, people just do it, right? People just stick their nose in flowers just because they expect a fragrance. Well, wouldn't that be cool to expect, well, let me rephrase that. You wouldn't expect lemon in a flower bouquet, but yet putting this little baby in there, they will get it, and it's really cool. But basil is just great. I mean, we love to grow lots of Italian leaf basil, and I also like to collect these little vases. You can see this is just like a little pitcher, and I filled it up with water, and I've just put this basil in here and just put it in the windowsill, and my wife can pull leaves from it and cook with it if she wants, when she wants. And a lot of times these will even root like this. That's how great of a cut flower they make. And then you could plant them out if you wanted to, but I'm sure these will never make it that far because we love to eat and cook with basil. So basil is another one. There's tons of varieties of basil too. There is different more cooking type varieties, and then there's a lot of herbal varieties like holy basil. There's I'm thinking of plum leaf basils. There's just a lot of beautiful ornamental varieties too that make great cuts. Cinnamon basil, it's another one. Now, one particular herb that I tend to use and see more, whoops, got a guy falling out here, this time of year, in the winter, is rosemary. Thanksgiving and Christmas, we tell tons of cut rosemary. And actually, because its symbolism is that of remembrance, you can use it in anything and everything. I mean, we do sell a lot of it throughout the year, but rosemary is just another herb that holds up well. Like you're doing something out of water, like for an arch or something. Imagine just putting this throughout. I mean, the fragrance, a lot of people just love this fragrance so much. So rosemary makes another good cut. Now, it does sometimes in the spring have those little purple blooms, which is another element, but I think that you'll find that this is an herb worth growing. Now, some people, there's some other foliages that are kind of nice. This particular one is bay. So if you've ever bought like candles that are bay scented, well, this is that type of bay. It's not the eating bay. It is, I don't know which cultivar this is, but it has that wonderful fragrance. Also, one plant that I grew a lot of was anise. It sort of smells like licorice. It's another great foliage that you can use. It's very hardy and it adds a fragrance. So it doesn't have to be blooming. It could be foliage. I had some scented geranium that got kind of left out of water, but the scented geranium world is filled with amazing fragrances. Where apple and peppermint and rose scented geraniums. They're all great. Some of them have variegated, some of them like a white variegation, a gold variegation, a burgundy variegation. There's so many great geraniums that are great as a cut that can be introduced for color or fragrance, but it's another family of herbs. Now, a lot of people know what catnip is, or you've heard of catnip, and this is a flower that we've bought for several years and sold as a great cut, and that is catmint. And so catmint is this beautiful bluish lavender kind of flower. It does grow really well. I planted I think I had found a 4-inch pot of it and I put it in my garden, and it was not that big, but it's already quadrupled in size. It's covering a nice big area, and next year I'm hoping to get nice beautiful blooms like this from it. It doesn't really have, it does smell kind of a neat minty kind of smell, but I just love these flowers. They're so long and just wispy, which I think adds a great element to design. Catmint is definitely great, so I would definitely consider that. Now, this is not really an herb, but I got this in and I really wanted to share it because it's a great perennial. I saw this growing in a garden up in Boston. Can't let me push this back. And that is Sanguisorba. And this little flower the perennial itself is kind of low to the ground, kind of like a statice or limonium or something. But it sends these stalks up high, like maybe 40 inches, 48 inches. And I just really like it because it has that neat texture. And it comes in a pink. They even have the white, which is kind of more really green. But this is the darker variety, and there's tons of varieties. but this is the darker one, and you can see like when it's dark like that, it's really fresh, and then as it gets pollinated or it fades out a little bit. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's really a great filler. Something interesting, something fun to try, and I would really recommend it. Sanguisorba. And okay, we're getting down to the last few. So this one is Monarda Lambada, and the Monarda family is a great family for pollinators, for birds, not birds, bees, and they just really love this flower. Now I will say that a lot of times the red or the pink, spread underground, I wouldn't say they're invasive, but I really like this particular one as a cut because it has this longer spike, and I love the flower all the way down. Plus, a lot of times, once the petals start to fall off, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's got these sepals make this kind of great green lavender tuft that I think is still a fabulous little element. So even once they start going past their peak, their sepals still create something really fabulous. I know I left some of this out here during the day today, excuse me, and the bees just love this. So we know this is very pollinator friendly, and you know what? I think it's design friendly too. I really love this. Now, so many herbs, like recently we had the opportunity to attend the Monroe Flower Festival, and that was really a special event. One of the local flower growers there were selling, there's a lot of beautiful bouquets that were being sold there, but one in particular was selling a medicinal herb bouquet, and it was just a great collection of herbs that were fragrant, smelled good, and the whole premise was it was just to help mood or maybe help clear the air, something you could dry and still hold on to. That would be great. So the reason why I'm mentioning that is because one of the elements that could be in something like that is mountain mint. And so there's a couple different kind of mountain mints. These, I love both of these equally. This particular one is muticum, Pyrocanthum muticum. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I love it because it has this silvery gray foliage that I feel like a lot of times there is another flower called Euphorbia marginata or snow on the mountain, and some people have issues with the latex sap because it's just that milky sap, and they have like an allergic reaction to it. This kind of gives you that feel. It's not as white, but it kind of gives you that feel. People are having fun. That feel of that silvery white cast, and the white flowers kind of fade and they're okay, but the foliage is what I really like about it. And the fragrance is kind of this weird medicinal minty smell, and I think it's kind of cool. The first year or two the bunches can be kind of short, but then as the plant matures, because it will come back, it gets taller and bigger and branchier. So this is a mountain mint. And then lastly, this is another type of mountain mint. I don't know which one this is, but I do know it's pretty fabulous. And so it also has that silvery foliage quality, but these just clusters of little pink blooms kind of almost remind you of like a spirea or some kind of a shrub, but it's not, it's herbaceous, and these bunches can be tall. And just because a lot of times herbs can be cut tall, I mean like 4 or 5 feet, that's how tall these things can get. Doesn't mean you need to cut them that tall, especially for cut production, because it's hard to work with, or sometimes I think it scares people off because they're so big. But I love this combination of this soft foliage and this wonderful sort of lilac lavender with a little blush maybe bloom. Pollinators are going crazy for it. I know, just bringing it outside, it already has some pollinators on it, and they're enjoying it, and it's kind of a fun little surprise. But again, it's in the mint family, and so it is really special because of the fragrance it adds to a design or arrangement. So herbs are a great collection, and I've only scratched the surface. There's so many more herbs out there, but even within each of the categories that I've showed you today, there are other cultivars, there's other varieties, all worth growing. So from the little guys to the big guys, herbs are a great source of fragrance, texture, color for any kind of design. So I hope you found this helpful. Again, I'm Scott Shepard, host of the Flower Podcast, where we talk to all kind of floral designers, flower farmers about how to do what we do to bring in color and joy to the world. So thanks again. Have a great night.